was on stage, but it's very, very special because if you can see, the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11, 11,
and most of
11,
the
and
amps go up to 10.
Exactly. What we do is if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
So, this goes to 11. Hi everybody, welcome back to Klonz Labs. Today we are going to present you the RealThing amplifier in the modern version. So, going to 11, what does it mean in the amplifiers? In that moment, at the end of the 70s, many guitarists felt the need to add some extra push to the input of their amplifiers. Also because the only other way to get more distortion was driving into distortion the power stage, the power amplifier, and so reaching really, really loud levels, and this sometimes was a problem. So the first idea that many guitarists used was to use a boost pedal or a distortion or fuzz or something, a pedal to boost and to drive into distortion the first input stage of the amplifier. Like the treble booster that I have here, which was used, for instance, by Brian May in the first albums from Queen. So, to start with, I will show you what's the effect of a Vox Treble Boosters in front of a Vox AC30, so that you can understand what we are talking about. So, I think the difference is quite evident. So, that was a good idea, and most guitarists used this system in the end of the 70s, early 80s. Then somebody had an idea to modify and improve the input section of the amplifiers. I'm not sure if it was Marshall amps or somebody else, but anyway, the first idea was very, very simple. Going back to the building blocks of a vintage amp that you have seen last time in our last video, you might remember that they had two inputs, normal and bright, normally with a different tone, and then a gain stage, which was generating some distortion, then the tone stack, then the power amp generating more distortion if driven into distortion, and then the loudspeakers. So the first idea was indeed very simple. We have two gain stages. Let's imagine that they have a gain of 10 times. So they amplify the signal from the guitar by 10 times. It means that if I push them to the limit, to 10 or maybe 11, they can have a gain of 10 plus 10. So I can reach a level of 20 times gain. But what if I do this? I send the output of this stage into the input of the second stage. So now I can have 10 times 10, 10 times 10, which makes 100. Which is much more than 11. This basically is the idea behind, for instance, the most famous of this new generation of amplifiers was the Marshall JCM 800. They did exactly this, 10 times 10. And then the rest is more or less the same. Another additional invention was the master volume. So an extra knob that was allowing you to generate the distortion you want by tuning the gain in the two gain stages, and at the end, in any case, you had the possibility to tune also the final output level freely. And there were sort of two independent level controls, which added a lot of versatility to the amplifier. Then, another thing that appeared in this generation of amplifiers was the FX loop, which basically is a buffer, a sort of circuit which adapts impedance and level between the output of the tone stack and the input of the effects like reverb, chorus, all the modulation effects. And normally this is put in this position. So that's it. That's the big change, between the vintage low gain and the modern high gain amplifiers. Then what happened? Somebody had another good idea that was even more simple. So he said, okay, we have 2 gain stages plus 1. What about adding a third one? And this is basically what happened with the generation of Soldano Super Lead Overdrive, the dual rectifier, and that family of amplifiers. And then somebody had another brilliant idea, which was adding even another gain stage. This is what happened with the 5150, for instance, that generation of amplifier. My personal feeling is that probably 4 gain stages is quite enough. But anyway, it's a matter of taste, of course. So today we are going to play some demos using the modern amplifier. By the way, one important thing is that since we can completely reconfigure the circuit by using our digital controller, it is still possible to take this out, and go back to the vintage structure. So with the modern preamp, it is also possible to have some nice vintage sounds recreated, because we can go back to the original structure of the vintage amps. So we will play for you 2 demos. One is for the high gain sounds using this Les Paul and also a baritone guitar, which is actually a normal scale guitar loaded with very heavy strings and tuned to B, so very low tuning. And then we will also let you hear some samples of the modern preamplifier playing clean tones using the vintage presets. So have fun and see you soon.